Hi, this is Howie from Prime Your Pump, entertaining and actionable self improvement. Today's lesson is about building relationships or building better relationships using a tool called a SIPOC analysis. And SIPOC is an acronym for supplier, inputs, needed from the suppliers, the process or the person, which is you, okay, the outputs that your constituents want and who your constituents are. And I'm going to show you in the next slide how this works. So take a look. So take a look at this slide. You'll see all the way on the right, the C is for customer, okay, or your stakeholders. It could be me, it could be my spouse, it could be my children, it could be my friends, and you could do a separate one for each one of these stakeholder groups. In business, we have it a SIPOC for employees at different levels, customers in different market segments, regulators, okay, accreditation agencies, etc. But the slide you're looking at now is for me as a customer of myself. So step one you can see is to list all of the stakeholders. So here it's just me, and you see it in red. And then the second step is to ask each stakeholder, what are your needs and wants? So I list out here some of my needs and wants. So in terms of finances, I want to have adequate income to live my desired lifestyle. Now, granted, I'm comfortable, all right, and I have a very, very nice house, all right, but I don't spend money. I don't have super fancy cars or super expensive clothes. But the lifestyle I like to live is I'll spend money on hotels. Okay, so when I travel there, I like to spend money, and go into all kinds of unusual situations like staying out in the middle of the Sahara Desert with the Bedouins, okay, overnight. And by the way, when I did that, I had perfect cell reception, okay, in the middle of the Sahara Desert, better than I have in my house. So so what you could see is I ask myself, what do I want? So for in terms of finances, I want adequate income. I want a job that I'm passionate about. Now, if I go over to the left side, the S, supplier, who's the supplier of what I need for my finances? And it's my employer, okay, in both cases. So it's salary plus benefits, as you can see, and it's a job that fits my skill set. So uh, my employer, okay, my employer is giving me the inputs that I need, salary, benefits, okay, a job that meets my skill set so that I am able to give adequate income to my family, and I'm able to have a job that I'm passionate about. For example, if I drop down to hobbies as an example, okay, under hobbies, okay, I ask myself, well, what hobbies, do you have? And I'd like to have hobbies that I'm passionate about. Well, the hobbies that I'm passionate about are going to the movies, eating dinner out, talking to friends, reading, but and working. Now, if I stopped working, I'd really, really, really be in trouble because I don't know what I would fill all that work time with. So I actually went to a psychologist to try and figure out what hobbies I should get into. And we talked about drawing, and I actually got into drawing for a while. And I started drawing pictures of my wife, okay, and birds and horses and stuff like that. And then I started drawing pictures of cartoons. Um, but after I was all done, I realized I didn't like any of those hobbies. All right. So I was kind of back to where I was. So sometimes it's not so easy to figure out, as an example, what hobbies you want. Okay. But who could help me, okay, figure out what the hobbies I want? Well, it's really me and my wife. All right. So as an example, travel, okay, is a hobby that I like. So I could talk to my wife, I could talk to my daughter, okay, to get ideas for travel. I could talk to friends to get ideas for travel. Like I'd mentioned, going to Morocco and out into the Sahara Desert, or going out into the countryside in the Netherlands, okay, to see how they live out there. These are all fun things, okay. have great vacations, okay, with my entire family. And this is getting ideas from my daughter, who's now 34, with her husband, about where they would like to go and what they would like to do. And that's always an eye opener because, they eat food that I generally don't like, but that's the new cool food, so I'm always into kind of trying it. And another thing in terms of hobbies are books. Well, I'm a voracious reader. And what I read about most is about elves, wizards, okay, dwarves, orcs, and I could do a real good imitation of like an orc or a dwarf or an elf for you, but I'm not going to get up and do it now. But all my friends say I do a pretty good elf. Another one I can do is what do you call those little green people that are from Ireland that hop around? What do you call them, Rick? You know what they're called? You don't know what they're called? No, I forget what they're called. In any event, so so like for me, a good book is I go to Amazon, and that Amazon tells me what books I would like. So, for example, before I go to sleep, I like to read books about the Roman legions, how they're, sticking people with swords and pulling their guts out. And I find all that real bloody violence very, very relaxing, okay, as opposed to watching television. So, taking a look at the next SIPOC analysis, this is my spouse, and it was interesting when I did this. I said to my wife in step 2, what needs and wants do you have, for me? And immediately she listed out 17 things, and you can see the 17 things listed out there. All right. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. 17 things. So I kind of put them into clumps. And one of the clumps was home care responsibilities. And so what I did was I figured out that I could go to the supermarket, the drugstore, and the dry cleaner all at one time. And I actually had my wife prioritize how important all these 17 things to her were. And the supermarket, the drugstore, and the dry cleaner came out as super important. The others weren't so important. So what I did was every Monday, 8 o'clock in the morning, I went to the supermarket, the dry cleaner, okay, and the drugstore, whether I needed anything or not. One time I came back, I remember, only with a bag of carrots. And my wife said to me, "So what did you go on the trip for?" I said, "I go every Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you don't like it, you do it." All right? And, so she backed off, and that's how that worked. So going over to my suppliers, for example, okay, for the dry cleaner. So I have to have supermarket has to be there, the dry cleaner has to be there, okay, the drugstore has to be there, and they have to have all the supplies that I need in order to bring it home to make my wife happy and give her what she needs, just as an example. Okay, the next one, was for my daughter when she was 9 years old. Okay, and I asked her, Allie, what would you like from me? All right, and that's step 2. And she said, well, I'd like to be able to play with you more. And she said, I'd like you to relax sleepover rules so I could have more sleepovers. And she said, and I'd like you to stop telling me what to eat. All right. Not that I ever thought I was a food Nazi, but apparently I was to her. So then we went to step 3, and really the suppliers of the food to Allie were my wife and me, and essentially to determine to determine the inputs for Allie was we just had to agree with my wife. I had to agree with my wife over what was okay for Allie to eat and what wasn't okay for Allie to eat. And we decided macaroni and cheese was a good thing for her to eat, okay, and spaghetti and pasta was a good thing for her to eat. Every once in a while she'd have a green vegetable, which she didn't like very much, but, that worked, and she's alive today and doing well, all right? The next slide, okay, is just a blank slide from my parents. And the reason I put this slide up is that, I asked my parents what they want from me, and they refused to answer. They just wouldn't answer me. So I waited till my mother was in the hospital and she couldn't get up and leave. Okay, and my father was there with her. So I went in and I asked him then, all right? And it was leprechauns. Leprechauns, that's the thing from Ireland. So I went and asked them when she was in the hospital bed, and they refused for about a half hour. But I kept on nagging them. And finally, my father got really pissed off and fed up. And he said, okay, we're going to tell you. Okay? And one of the things they told me was that they wanted me to have more children, and they wanted me to pay more attention to my child's religious upbringing. So I listened to them and I heard them, okay, but I didn't listen at all. I have no more children, and my daughter, as far as I can tell, is a Wiccan or some kind of bizarre religion. I have no idea what she is, actually, and nor do I care, okay? I'm not a terribly religious person. All right, I just think in the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now we come to the section of use it or lose it and make it actionable. So the first thing, remember, you have to do is you have to list out all of your stakeholders. You know, you, your parents, your children, your friends, your coworkers, okay, anybody that's involved in your life, okay, and you want to take the time to do this. I find the best way to do it is when I go into the bathroom, okay, to take a dump, okay, I just have paper there and a pencil, and I just, over a period of a few weeks, keep on listing down my stakeholders, and after a month I have a very, very excellent list. All right, and then the next thing is you have to go to each of those stakeholders and ask them what do they want. Now, some of them are going to be happy to tell you, like my wife listed out the 17 things, boom, 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 and my parents didn't want to tell me, and I had to keep on nagging them till I found out, because I can't make them happy if I don't know what they want. I'm not a mind reader, all right? The third thing was to list all the suppliers who can give you the inputs that you need, all right, in order to make your stakeholders happy, all right? And once you find out what they are, all right, then you can start to put it all together. And when do you use it? Well, anytime you want to build better relationships by understanding the needs and wants of your stakeholders and yourself. And what do you think about it? Well, try it out and let us know how it works, okay, by sharing your story in comments below or emailing us. And that's it for this week. And before we go, remember to read and share our blog posts with others, and to subscribe to our weekly newsletter. That's it. And remember, until next time, prime your pump.